Hello, my name is Chris Brasure, and I'm here to talk to you about 3 common personality changes that you may notice with TBI victims. Now, one of the common personality changes you can notice occurs in conversations. For example, the way that a person speaks, whether they stop and start conversations kind of abruptly and randomly, or maybe what they say, something that is random or can be considered rude or outrageous or inappropriate. And of course, that doesn't mean that the traumatic brain injury victim is a rude person. It's just a part of the traumatic brain injury. The other thing, and the third thing that you may notice, is in the middle of a conversation, the traumatic brain injury victim may become upset or become enraged in some cases. And again, it doesn't mean that that person is bad. It just is a problem with the traumatic brain injury and how that person is reacting or trying their best in the conversation. Now, a few years ago, we had a gentleman come to me for help who was involved in a trucking crash. And what his family had noticed is that he would, in conversations, and when he would get confused, particularly when he was driving and they were talking, this gentleman would get confused and then really upset, and there would be a huge blow up. Now, fortunately, we were able to diagnose that this person had a traumatic brain injury and get him some help, and his family was able to implement some strategies to try to help deal with those specific situations. For example, this gentleman had an 18-year-old son, and the family decided that when the family would travel or when the gentleman would need to go somewhere, that when possible, the 18-year-old son would be the one driving. And that way, a situation wouldn't develop where the person with the traumatic brain injury would get confused and where they're going and then get upset and no fights would ensue. And that was one example of a strategy that the family came up to cope with their loved one that had a traumatic brain injury. Now, if that's something that you have experienced with a loved one or yourself, feel free to download any of the resources on our group, or if you would like to talk about it, feel free to send me an email and I'd be happy to have a strategy session with you. Or if we can't help you, then we can direct you and point you in the right direction to where your family may be able to get some help with these common everyday situations with a traumatic brain injury.